Hello, I'm Anna Hetman, and today we will talk about the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Our special guest will tell us how the conflict affected his life. Hi Yasha, thanks for accepting my interview request. Could you please say a few words about yourself?
Hi, Anna. First of all, thank you so much for taking the time to interview me. Information war has made today's media mainly biased, and that's why authentic interviews are pretty important. And I'm glad to deliver my own view on our topic today, the conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh and its implications on me. But first, let me introduce myself to our listeners. My name is Yasha. I was born in Baku, Azerbaijan. After studying political science in the Public Administration Academy there, I moved to Berlin to delve deeper into international relations and politics, and thus began studying it at the Humboldt University of Berlin. Currently, I'm doing my master's program in Eastern European Studies at the Free University of Berlin. And in the meantime, I worked for the Azerbaijani embassy in Austria and in the German parliament.
Could you please give me some background information about the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan over the Nagorno Karabakh region?
The war between Armenia and Azerbaijan was rooted in the claims of Armenia over the territories of its neighbors. Yes, you heard it right. Well, tensions exist not only between Armenia and Azerbaijan, but also between Armenia and Georgia over Samtskhe Javakhite, a Georgian region on the Armenian border, Turkey over large parts of eastern Turkey, as well as over the parts of Iran, Iraq, and Syria. Just search for Great Armenia and you'll be shocked. And all that territories belonged, so the Armenian nationalists believe, to the so-called Great Armenia, which, as the world knows, never existed. But this quasi-historical argument was used by a group of Armenian nationalists to launch a war in 1988 against Azerbaijan. Politically destabilized Azerbaijan was a perfect target for Armenian nationalists who were funded by the Armenian diaspora, which was raising money for that purpose for decades before the war began. Between 1988 and 1991, Armenian government ethnically cleansed all the regions in Armenia where Azerbaijanis lived. Just imagine, not a single Azerbaijani out of 300,000 living in Armenia was allowed to stay there. And between 1992 and 1994, Armenian army headed by Armenian nationalists together with Russian armed forces that served in South Caucasus and who Armenians paid to fight on their side, occupied 20% of Azerbaijan's territories.
May you please tell me more about how you personally were impacted by the war?
Well, I always wish that the war had never happened. First of all, my relatives from my father's side had to leave their houses in order not to be captured and killed by Armenians, a fate that thousands of Azerbaijanis shared those years. My relatives lived in Jabrail, one of the 7 occupied districts, which, as I have already mentioned earlier, has nothing to do with Nagorno-Karabakh. I never had the chance to visit my father's village, to have a look at the house where he was born and grew up. I had only my father's memories and my imagination left. I always asked myself, why can't I visit my paternal house? Why the hell a group of nationalists heading the neighboring country is allowed to occupy my motherland's internationally recognized territories and shoot at me if I decide to visit my father's village? What is wrong with the world? Why does the international community close its eyes to that? Can you show me any other country which occupied its neighbors' territories, killed and ethnically cleansed all its citizens there, built military posts along the contact line, and doesn't let anyone cross it? No. The Nagorno-Karabakh conflict was a pretty unique case. Second, from the very early age, I used to see disabled persons, victims of the war, used to listen to their mind-blowing memories about the war, terrible stories about the days some of them were held captive. TV programs were filled with documentaries about the war. Scenes of hundreds of civilians, including children, elderly people, killed by Armenians were seared into my memories. Since the end of the war, on the dates when each of the 12 districts was occupied, they were only documentary films about the war on TV, all day long. Third, the hate that lives in any Azerbaijani against those Armenians who were responsible for launching the war and participating in it is often being extrapolated to the Armenian nation as a whole. As a result, the hatred between our nations is becoming a problem when living abroad. When we meet each other abroad, there is usually only a cold curtain of threat between us. In such situations, I realize that because of a group of Armenian nationalists captured their neighbors' territories just because in their beliefs a so-called Great Armenia should be restored someday, my father and 1 million Azerbaijanis lost their houses, were forced to flee to save their lives. Many of them lived in old Soviet trains for decades. Over 20,000 Azerbaijanis, my neighbors, my own relatives, and relatives of my friends were killed. I never saw my father's house and his native village. I had to realize the full tragedy of war at my early age. I see an enemy almost in every Armenian I meet, and I always get sad and somehow angry when I have to explain the causes of the war and stir up all my memories about the war. As you can see now, not only my childhood, but actually my entire life is spoiled by the war, which was imposed on us by a group of Armenian nationalists, just because they wanted so.
Did the conflict influence the choice of your future profession?
Yes, definitely. When I was planning my professional future, I was thinking about all those years we were trying to find a peaceful solution to that problem. I used to watch our politicians who were trying to get on that solution, and I think that was the main reason I decided to study political science, to be one of those politicians and to help my government, to help my people, and to have some positive impact on the negotiation process. And since I'm living abroad, I'm trying to spread truthful information about the war, about the conflict itself. And I think it's pretty important in today's world of biased media.
Thank you for sharing your story with us, Yasha. I wish you good luck and hope to see you again. And thank you all for the listening.